Dean DeCode has served for over 20 years with the US Navy. He had a near-death experience, which got him to research a number of paranormal topics and investigating deep underground military bases, UFOs, and many other controversial issues relevant to conspiracy theories. We did a major update on his paper, over 100 pages on deep underground military bases, and we covered that in the first part of this two-part series. And in this second part, we're going to continue to research deep underground military bases, but he's going to be talking about how they're being used in terms of children and other very sensitive topics. So because these topics are something that are not YouTube friendly, that this would lead to censorship by the YouTube algorithms, this video will not be released in full on YouTube. So you got to head over to my Patreon channel to watch the full version where you get the early release, or you can go to Rumble, Spotify for the general public release a few days later. All that information will be in the links to this video. So with that, we now begin this video, and so you can head on over to Patreon or to the other channels.
You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Hi, Dean. Well, welcome back.
Thank you, Dr. Salla. I love your background. Just, incredibly busy lately, and fascinating things happening all over the world. So many different things going on. Just amazing. We were talking about some of those before we got started here. So thank you for having me back. It's an honor.
Well, I'm very glad that we're able to continue to talk about the incredible research you did on the deep underground military bases. So in this particular episode, we are going to be looking at these more sensitive topics that involve the children. So I wanted to begin with this particular slide, number 99, in your PowerPoint presentation. And maybe just to remind people from those that maybe haven't seen part one for a while, or maybe have forgotten, you maybe want to just kind of just remind people about this this presentation that you did, this 103-page document that you released that we're showing now on the screen.
The document is an outgrowth of my epiphany. I woke up in 1990 about the structure of what's going on in the world and the power structures that it became increasingly obvious in my military career. Then it started culminating in my last tour of duty in Hawaii and Pearl Harbor on a shore tour that I had at the end of my career, where I was witnessing U.S. submarines pulling in SSBNs and getting their nukes taken off. And I followed one up into Alimano crater and watched it drive into the side of the crater, literally. And then, of course, that is then accentuated in 32 years ago, my death experience 32 years ago today, that focused me into bringing this to light, first to research and to learn it all, to understand it, because to understand the deep state and the structure and the powers that be in the negative agenda alien that is driving the world's governments from on below, deep underground, as well as from outside the Earth and our solar system and the galaxy even, took a very long time to assemble all the information, to do all the research, to get to an understanding to where I could even speak to it. And then it was when I got to that understanding, I felt it would be important for the world to know. And so about 6 or so years ago, I came out with starting the dumb decodes, and now I'm redoing them, because even in the process since then, I've gained more knowledge and awareness of things to where I'm redoing them. So this first document is just the introduction. I'm working on wrapping up now a deep introduction, and then I'll go through the U.S. alphabetically by state, with the purpose, not just where they're located, latitude, longitude, a lot of that from Phil Schneider, as I've said before, and as well as information from Martin William Cooper, but also people like James Casbolt and others, to go into more the purposes of the various underground facilities, the maglevs, and as you can see in this map that I have pulled up from the document I did about the portals, the UFO bases, the inner earth entrances, and the missing children being harvested and taken off earth and below for satanic reasons also as well, as the extraterrestrial, all of that being extraterrestrial originally, fallen to earth, so to speak. So thank you, Dr. Sal.
All right, well, so let's get onto this map, because it is a very provocative map. I mean, it shows what appears to be UFO activity, vortexes all over the United States, UFO bases, inner Earth entrances, and it also shows where the missing children are being taken. And you mentioned James Casbolt. So can you just explain who James Casbolt is and why this map he provided is something that you believe to be very accurate?
Well, he was an actual upper member of the deep state, way up in the upper regions. He was an MI6 agent, and they have that kind of a superior attitude. And so in that, they feel that they're become untouchable. And so he released this information and gave a lot of this information out because, like we heard, the Bushes, both senior and junior, there will be a new world order. Nothing will stop it. That's where they were. And when I first woke up, that's what definitely seemed to be. Nothing could stop it. I found out that they owned everything on Earth, literally. They absolutely had categorized, labeled, quantified, and in an economic sense, the value of every single living thing on Earth, every plant, every piece of land, every structure below the Earth, all the way up into space. Every person, every individual had a title and a deed, filed and traded on the international blue chip stock market. They'd taken over the stock market, created a fictional monopoly stock market called the common market for the common people. They look at us as a lower species to be used and dominated and used and harvested and used for trade and trafficking and rituals and all of these things. So at the time when I first was realizing this, and I would tell people, I get admired. The common response was, I'm out of my mind. The next response is, what's the point? There's nothing they would research it and say, there's nothing we can do about it anyway. I just want to live my life the best I can until it comes to an end in this lifetime, obviously. It's the end. They have and they will seal up everything and take everybody, and who's ever left will be an abject slave beyond anything ever known. It was very dismal at that time. There seemed to be no way out. And then since that time, especially in the last 6 years, but even before that, I was getting inklings with the first advent of the Mega Cube, which was in 2014. It was I was working on my back deck, rebuilding it and strengthening it and making it so that it would be it needed a lot of refurbishment. And God told me to blow myself off with the leaf blower I had to get the sawdust go up. And he took me into the computer, and I saw just questions endlessly being added every day, every few hours, more and more questions of a very, very sensitive nature into some of the things I had researched when I was in the military. And, I'd be standing command duty officer on my last tour. I had to go through all the safes for the entire command I was in, both out on Ford Island and on the main part of Pearl Harbor. And in the process of that, I had to do inventory page check. I said, well, if I'm checking all the pages of these highly classified documents, why don't I just read them to see what's in them? And that's what gave me more depth. And so in this make a queue, there were questions in there of a very high classified nature of things. And then even other things that I constantly in that last tour kept meeting people like James Casbolt, who are MI6 or CIA or both. They're kind of the same thing. And they often work so closely together. There's agents that are both. And James Casbolt is probably one. I met one such person in Hawaii. And he gave me a lot of information on Mark Ultra and the whole structure of it, the phone book for all the marionettes, as he called them, in Hawaii, which was a phone book worth for the islands. I mean, it's like you take the phone book for Oahu, and that you say that's how many people in all of the islands. It's like a massive number. And so in that, in this investigation, it went down rabbit holes that got into things that at a point you start to question yourself, and then later you find out it's true. Or you see things that they say they're going to do, and you go, that's impossible. That's a figment of their imagination, and it can't be real. And then it does happen. And so technologies and things come out that at the time you think it's a movie, or it's just a movie, it's not real, like Rods of God, for example, being one, or neutrino weapons in Antarctica being another. And then later now, Operation Disclosure, they're going into that in Congress and things. And these things I've known since the 1990s. So it verifies that you're not out of your mind for yourself. And then other people would research it, or get people like James Casbolt that I got to talk to personally.
I just wanted to clarify something. Now, you mentioned having met with James Casbolt while you were, now, if I caught it correctly, while you were doing a submarine tour, or one of your tours of duty. Now, James Casbolt says he worked for MI6 between 1995 and 1999. So did you meet him during this time when he was with MI6, and was this when he revealed some of this information to you?
Not James Casbolt. No, sorry if I made you understand that incorrectly. I met people like James Casbolt that at the same level working as MI6 CIA assets.
I see. So you met people during that last tour of duty, that last submarine service, that confirmed a lot of this stuff about the well, deep underground military bases, UFOs, and children, and so forth, and that when James Casbolt came up with this picture, this map, that this was something that you recognized as being accurate based on what you were told in the 90s. Is that correct?
Yeah, also before my awakening, what made me have a sudden epiphany, I mean, it hit me like a cold bucket of ice water over my head, with the ice cubes banging me in the head as somebody poured it over me, a 5-gallon bucket of it, was various submarines I had been on that were special forces type submarines or special ops type submarines. And I kept having ops that I was doing in which we were doing things that are not what submarines, from my understanding when I went into submarines, and even as I made rank and went higher in rank, was not things that you should be doing, or that were even known to be submarines could do them. We were doing things, and I became aware of things that were happening that were quite obviously not what I was being told. And then it just came into focus in my last tour in Hawaii, in which all of these ops and all of these different submarines, what we were doing, all of it came to my understanding. It's like one of the spooks, we call the CIA MI6 type spooks, on my third submarine, which was a fast attack. We did a lot of northern weddings, which are northern Atlantic, and it's extremely rough seas. It's very shallow ocean. So as you get in the upper latitudes, it's extremely rough, even at 300 feet down. And you're pitching and rolling something very ferocious. And then suddenly you wouldn't be. We would do certain things, and then suddenly it wouldn't be. And I'm like, something's wrong with this. And a lot of the different indicators of equipment and things, you're looking at the, for example, the structure of the thermoclines from the top of the ocean, you can launch buoys, or from periscope depth that go all the way to the bottom. So you can see the structure of the thermoclines and the currents and all of these things. And suddenly everything's off. And I'm like, what just happened? And the submarine, I've been in charge of certain equipments that were doing things, and I'm going, why are we doing this? And I asked the spook, and he goes, you don't need to know that. Just do these to put this equipment on board. I go, but submarines aren't supposed to be doing these kind of things. And he goes, well, you're in a special situation here. So, okay. But that then came all under focus in this last tour. And, that spook on my third submarine said, you'll figure. I go, you're not going to explain this to me. He goes, I don't need to. I've looked at your entire career, your folder on you about who you are, your life. I'm like, my whole life. He goes, yeah, we have all that. And I go, well, that's comforting. He goes, you will figure it out. It will dawn on you. It may take a while, but it will, and thus it did. And so in that, I feel that they have known of me on both the alliance side and the other side for a very long time. They track people that are different in their perceptions. And so it's why I feel that I met people similar to James Casbolt and other individuals with a level of knowledge in technologies, in off-world technologies and trafficking and all of these things at an unusual level. Even in my martial arts, I meet instructors that are quite unique and different than the average person would meet. It's not just dojo people that I'm meeting that have a dojo, and it's none of that. It's just out in the wilderness practicing and doing things and doing unusual things, let's put it that way. Not the normal kind of what you would expect it to be from what you've been growing up seeing on television and movies. It's so, even at a point with researching this and tying it back to things I've seen and experienced, it gets beyond the movies. You're going into things, you're going, wow, where did they even think of doing these things? When you go into some of the technologies, and now that's coming out in disclosure in the Congress in various countries, including the US. And so that's where I am today.
Now, with all of these different tunnels and vortices and UFO bases all over the US that's in this map, now, where are the missing children being taken?